the whole event together, Theo. And I think so many fans are worried that it was going to be a bit like the West Ham one with, taxis on the pitch and all this kind of business. And actually it was a very classy and sort of respectful ceremony, if you like. And the way that the club kind of, I think, really pulled out all the stops to respect the fact that, the stadium, the ground means a lot to the fans.
Yeah.
And we all know what's coming the day after. On the Monday, the bulldozers were literally moving in.
Yeah.
So the whole kind of creative behind the event and the film itself, I've played that. I've watched it back a number of times because I think it's a brilliant film. And my partner is not a football fan by any stretch of the imagination. But when people say, I want to kind of understand a bit more about Tottenham Hotspur, I say, well, there's one film that you should start with, and it's that one. Because if you spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever, watching that, you get the potted history, and then you can build from there. So it's basically like Tottenham Hotspur 101.
Yeah, well, Theo, that's lovely to hear. Thanks.
Did you have to sell your soul to the devil to get that rainbow?
That's what I like to say. Yeah, no, I actually did a deal with the Russians who can actually make rainbows. Yeah, that's what I did. So more or less, yeah.
So going on to your life goals, because I've listened to a few of those. I think it's absolutely fantastic pod. And if anyone's listened to this, if they've not heard it, you really should. It's so I'm going to put you on the spot actually this time. So what's your greatest Spurs moment, if you've got one, and what song would you associate with that moment?
Well, I did a thing. There's a spin-off from the Spurs show called Top 10 Tottenham, where you talk about your 10 greatest Tottenham moments, and I was a guest on it of Mike Lee's. It was very incestuous. Mike Lee interviewed me about, and so I did 10 moments, and I'm just trying to think now which one I would put on top. He didn't ask. You don't have to say which one's on top. There is a moment now that, as time goes by, I mean, I was there in '81 when Ricky Villa scored the goal. I mean, that's so hard to beat. Really, because I was only 15. I'd never even been to Wembley before, and to be there that night when Steve Perryman lifted the cup at the age of 15, and seemed like to me at that age seemed like an age since we'd won a trophy. Of course, now it was actually only like 7 years or something. So, but I would say, do you know what I keep coming back to is the '91, the semi-final. Obviously, beating Arsenal was huge, but the cup final in '91, when we won the cup, it was such an emotional cup final. Gazza going off, getting injured, us in the first half going a goal down, missing a penalty, losing our best player, and still turning it around and winning it in extra time. And the reason at the time, it's one of the only times I actually welled up at a football match, is because what people forget is that the club was in danger, existential danger. We were going bust, and we needed to win the cup to get Alan Sugar. Obviously now in retrospect, people think that wasn't necessarily a good thing, but he basically came in and rescued the club. Yeah. He bought it and rescued it and propped it up financially. And if we hadn't won the cup, the perception was that he wouldn't have done it, because that's what got us into Europe, which guaranteed extra revenue. We weren't in. And so I felt, as they paraded that cup around Wembley, that we'd saved, not just won the cup, but saved the club. And also now, in retrospect, when I look at it, the guy who turned the whole game around was Paul Stewart, who had a great game and scored the equalising goal, which was so critical, and it was such a good finish. And what we now know about Paul Stewart, who I've interviewed at length about this, and I've read his book, is that he was going through some kind of hell, because he'd come through all of that abuse. He'd been the subject of terrible, systematic sexual abuse at the hands of his coach. He was on prescription drugs and drinking and cocaine, and he was going through absolute hell, and he had a difficult time at Spurs. But by that time, he turned it around. He'd gone into midfield and he scored that crucial goal. So when I put all those ingredients together, that moment when we lifted the cup in '91, I would say is my number one moment.
Good stuff. And so is there anything you're doing at the moment that we should all catch, apart from life goals, or?
No, live goals. My focus is on live goals. I've got Dave Bassett on this week, who is absolutely brilliant. He's got so many great stories, and he's very, very funny. And then I've got a couple of very highbrow writers. We have a real variety of guests. So I've got Alison Rudd from the Times coming up, and I've got Simon Cooper from the Financial Times. Financial Times columnist who's just written a book about Barcelona. So I got them coming up. So that's my focus.
Nice, yeah, and I can't not mention Greaves here. Did you see him in the flesh? And maybe before your time, but have you Any memories of Greavesy?
It was before my time. I never saw him play, but I met him. We had him on the Spurs show live, and it was one of those. There's a few. I mean, Dave Mackay I met, and I met Greavesy, and the two of the greatest players of their generation. Never mind Tottenham, just full stop. Two of the greatest players in their position ever, in their positions, and what they had in common was an incredible kind of magical presence. You felt like you were in the presence of somebody special, and it's fascinating that because what they were good at was football, but they were so good at it. It's almost as if to be that good at football, to be that significant, to rise above like they both did, you have to be a very, very special person, a very, very special personality. And I got that from Jimmy Greaves. We spent the evening with him. He came backstage, obviously, to begin with, and we spoke. He was a very relaxed, self-assured, lovely guy. Then he came on the stage. We interviewed him for an hour or two, and he was brilliant there, funny, but also poignant at times and full of insight and wisdom. And I just, I was completely besotted with him, same way as I was with Mackay. And so it was sad. It was the only time I ever met him. There's a great picture that my friend Rob White took of me and him, which I absolutely love and cherish, I think he was, anyone you speak to who did see him play is completely in awe of him. I had Harry Harris on the podcast on Life Goals last week, and I made a little film today of him paying tribute to him.
Yeah. I need to listen to that one. I think that will be a good one because Harry Harris is a Spurs man, isn't he?
He is, and he's obviously, but he knows everyone in football. I mean, he knows Pele, he knew Maradona. He just knows everyone. And he's worked in books with everyone. He's an incredible bloke. Yeah.
So I will go to On This Day, and some things never change because on the 20th of September 2009, Tottenham Hotspur played against Chelsea and we lost 3-0.
Oh God.
There you go. Match predictions. Let's skip ahead now. So Wolves in the Carabao Cup on Wednesday.
Lee, just before we go to match predictions, I don't know if you've seen the thing that was doing the rounds in the Independent today. There was an article that's it's on Twitter. So they're basically, someone's been like, there's been a Premier League senior source who's basically said that we don't want too many Leicester Cities, saying that football fans would prefer the tradition, the bigger clubs to win the Premier League. So I know obviously we're kind of running over in terms of time, but I thought it was interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of uproar about that on social media, and I just thought, I wondered what people's thoughts were, because it kind of smacks of there being some kind of direction that they feel that the league should always be going in, that that they don't these fairy tales that football is supposed to be about, they don't particularly see as being what football should be, and they'd rather they didn't happen.
Well, after the European Super League, does it surprise you?
Well, it does, because they. Sorry, go on, Theo.
No, I was just going to say it's the same thing, isn't it? It's exactly the same thing. The Super League, they do market research like any other big multi-billion pound business. They do market research, and they see what the consumers want. They research. They go to sort of lightweight younger fans and say, what do you want? And they say, I want to see Real Madrid play Manchester United and Bayern Munich play Juventus. And all they're saying is the same thing here. We want the big, we all support Man United and Liverpool and City and Chelsea, and they're the teams we want. I don't know where Tottenham are in that whether Tottenham count as one of the big teams anymore or not, or Arsenal, because Tottenham and Arsenal are suddenly falling quite far behind in the so-called top six. But I think it's business and marketing and money is what we're looking at there, and we just have to try and do the best we can, preserve the integrity of our competitions, like we did when we all got up in arms and strangled the Super League at birth. That's not to say it can't come back. We've got to try and keep doing that.
I think it will, to be honest. Some way or other, it will come back at some point.
Yeah.
Right, so we'll move on to the Wolves away Carabao Cup on Wednesday. So I'll start. We'll do sort of quick predictions. Sarah?
I didn't even realise we were playing until I was in the car earlier. And it came on the radio.
It's away at Wolves as well, so
it's away at Wolves. I think it'll be a tricky one. I reckon we'll end up going to a replay if they're doing replays this year. I reckon we'll go 1-1.
No such thing as replays in the cup anymore.
Okay, then 1-1 lose on pens because I'm feeling particularly negative at the moment.
Simon?
I don't know. God, I don't know. I'll try and be a little bit optimistic and just say, well, maybe 2-1. We'll pull it off somehow. We'll pull ourselves together. Don't know.
Okay, Theo?
Well, it's like impossible. You've got nothing to go on. You wouldn't want to have a bet on that game because you've got no idea whether the managers will pick how strong a teim they'll pick. I mean, because it's the League Cup, they might pick weakened sides. They might not. One manager might pick a weakened side, the other one might not. So it's you put one thing's for sure. It would be bad for both teams. But I'm not worried about Wolves. It would be bad for us to go out of the League Cup at this stage. Very bad for Nuno because that. As we always say, that is a possible route to a trophy for us. We got to the final last year, and to shut that down early when things are not great at the moment anyway would be a big problem. So I think if I was him, I'd play a strong team. I'd go all out to win it, and because of that, I think we might win it.
Okay,
2-1.
Good, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to share Theo's optimism on this. I don't think he will go strong. I think he'll make changes, and I think he'll kind of go with the Conference League type team. And as a result, I think we'll lose 1-0, unfortunately. I'd love to be optimistic, and I really want us to win it because I think it is important that's a competition. It's important for us to try and stay in, but I don't see it happening, to be honest.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tricky one because we've got the Arsenal game on Sunday, and everyone will want to play that and do well. So I think this is going to be a real challenge to make sure nobody gets injured in this one. Either way, if we lose any of those games, there's going to be an almighty uproar. So I think I'm going to go 1-0 Spurs, but it'll be a lucky 1-0 because I think it'll be a hard-fought game. And I think Nuno himself hasn't got a big track record on playing strong teams in this cup, according to Wolves fans. Okay, I'm just going to finish more or less finish it up with a few words on Jimmy Greaves, if that's okay. So, like all of us on this,
sorry, Liam, just before you do that, do you not want to cover off the Arsenal game as well? Because we haven't got another pod between now and then.
Sure, yeah, thank you for reminding me. So we'll do quickly go through then. So, Steve, what's your prediction in the Arsenal game? Yeah,
we're going to thump them. I actually do think we'll beat them. To be honest, I think we're away, less pressure on the team, and I don't think Arsenal are in great shapes at the moment, not in great form. So I think we'll beat them 2-0. 2-0.
I think it'll be 1-1.
Okay. Yeah, Simon.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're in a difficult position because we've had two bad losses on the bounce, and they've had a couple of wins. Their confidence is a bit higher, and we're away. So I'm going to say a draw as well, 1-1 or 2 or something like that. But I'd like to feel that we would be in a better place had we had a better outcome yesterday, and I just don't know whether if we win on midweek whether that's going to be enough. I think their confidence is just higher than ours at the moment.
Sarah?
So coming into these games, we always seem to be in the ascendancy, and Arsenal come in and do our sort of grab a draw. And I'm gonna put it the other way, believe it or not. I think we're going to scrape a win because I think the team need to. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on it, but I think we'll somehow just do it.
Yeah, I think I'm going for a win, a 2-1 win, but it's a really important one because if they beat us, I think they'll be above us, and if we beat them, put a little bit of a gap between us again. But so yeah, I'm going 2-1 Spurs. Okay, so I'll finish off with a few words about Jimmy. So, like pretty much all of us on this pod, really, we didn't get to see Jimmy play live, but we've seen the videos, heard the legendary tales. we've been told about the glory days. Jimmy almost joined Tottenham in 1955, but instead went to Chelsea.